Joe Burrow, Garrett Wilson, Aaron Rodgers news, Josh Jacobs news, Javonte Williams news. Not all of it's bad, and some of it is, like in Joe Burrow's case, crisis averted. But what kind of timetable are we looking at? What kind of buy low territory and time frame are we looking at? Garrett Wilson hobbled, but is he injured? Is he just banged up a little bit? A lot of people spreading some stuff out there in our chat. Steven coming in. Steven earlier in the other live streams like, Garrett Wilson, you should be real concerned. We're not concerned as of this moment about Garrett Wilson, my guy. Okay, so take it easy, Scared Steven and Scared Scott. Appreciate you all being here. The Fantasy Football Show News Edition. The news show begins right now.
Live from the FantasyFootballShow.com studios. It's the Fantasy Football Show. Live! Monday through Friday, 8 p.m. Eastern. Smitty is also live whenever news breaks.
From the FantasyFootballShow.com news desk, here is your breaking news.
A lot of little things to talk about here today already. And we're just getting started. I mean, injuries are going to plague the 2023 season like they plague every single season. So we need to be capable of adjusting and adapting, bobbing and weaving, zigging and zagging when people are doing the opposite thing. And we averted a crisis. Crisis averted. And there's still going to be a lot of people, a lot of petrified Peters, a lot of upset Ungers that are going to come in here and say, Smitty, what are we doing with Joe Burrow? Are we scared of Joe Burrow right now, Smitty? No, we're not. He was wearing a sleeve on his calf, as reported by Adam Schefter not too long ago prior to the injury. So there was some sort of tingle, some sort of issue. A lot of times when you have what appears to be maybe a sore calf or a slight tingling in the calf, you wear some sort of sleeve or protective piece that will be kind of a protective measure. And you hope that nothing comes of it, right? So clearly something was bothering him prior to the injury. And essentially, Joe Burrow ended up injuring something he was concerned about injuring. So there is that aspect of it to say, hey, you know what? There might be a chance, as they said on NFL Network, there might be a chance that Joe Burrow doesn't return to the field until his contract's done. You know, because he's got this calf issue, and if he goes out there again and rushes it for the team and tears it, then what happens with his contract? So there's a lot of chatter right now around news wires and news outlets that Joe Burrow might shelf himself until he gets his big deal, and I can't blame him. So you can bet your bottom dollar that the contract talks for Joe Burrow are going to kick into high gear heading into the next week or two. Now, this isn't to say Joe Burrow, who is a warrior, an absolute cigar-smoking monster, won't walk onto the field 5 days from now. You know, but there is a chance he does sit out as a precautionary measure to say, hey, get the contract done, and then I'll come right back out and we'll work on it, whatever. You know, he's not holding in. It's not one of those situations, but it definitely will be something to monitor, and it won't make me worried. I'm not going to be a worried William on this one because Joe Burrow is going to be fine. Garrett Wilson's also reportedly banged up slightly. We had Steven come in here and start almost spreading false rumors about him being very, very bad off. The news report on Garrett Wilson is as follows. Let me see if I can find that report here and put it on the screen. But Garrett Wilson, I think it was right. I think it was right here. No, that's not that one. That's the Joe Burrow carted off. Again, carted off the field was totally blown out of proportion. Sometimes you cart someone off as a precautionary measure. Also, even if you jammed your toe, you know, you're gonna call for the cart, and the cart's gonna come over and pick you up. You know, that's definitely the case. Here's this Jets head coach Salah says that Garrett Wilson should be fine after leaving practice with an ankle injury. He's hobbled. He's going to leave the field as a precautionary measure, but there's no big concern with Garrett Wilson. If anything, what I want to hammer home here for everybody today, let's keep this over in the corner in case we need to reference it. What I want to hammer home here today, and first of all, thanks to everybody being here. We've got 120 of you in here so far. DJ Meat Missile was first in the building. Let's give DJ a round of applause for being number one in the building. Torres was second. Kilpatrick, Mr. Random, True Penguin. Christmas is in here. Kyle, appreciate you, Kyle. Isaac, Frake, D-Class. Appreciate you all. Appreciate you all. But we're here to talk Garrett Wilson, slightly injured right now. Not a big concern. Joe Burrow, calf injury, concerned, but like not to the point where it sways us away from drafting him. Not to mention, it would have to sway us away from drafting him. Literally would have to sway us away from drafting him in what is going to be now a discounted territory. He's now falling into the hold on. Scuba, I'm in the middle of the news right here, Scuba. I'm in the middle of the news. Is this an emergency? Are you okay?
No, I'm sorry, man. I didn't know if you were on.
Yeah. Phone lines aren't open yet, Scuba. Phone lines aren't open yet. Call back in 1 second, Scuba. All right. I don't know if Scuba was okay. I had to take that. I didn't know if that was an emergency. But Jets coach Robert Saleh saying that Garrett Wilson's fine. Joe Burrow probably missing a couple weeks minimum. I wouldn't be surprised if he didn't play an entire, if he didn't miss the entire preseason, which is fine. As long as he's out there, he's not a running back, he's not a wide receiver. I'm not as concerned about like being off and coming in kind of cold turkey in a sense. I think Joe Burrow could be fine from that. Quarterbacks are a different animal in terms of that. Now running back, it would concern me if a running back, let's say, I don't want to use any of the big names we love so much. Let's call it, let's use a real example. Let's use J.K. Dobbins right here, who is in a very frustrating situation, according to the staff and the brass here in Baltimore. Ravens coach John Harbaugh said that J.K. Dobbins' situation is complicated, but the team is working through it. This is a total avoid at this point, given his cost of entry. Now, if his cost of entry changes, then we can kind of circle back, retool our thinking, and say, let's go after J.K. Dobbins at 7th round value, 6th round value. But as it stands right now, currently today, on July 27, he's going in the 5th round, 6th round, top of 6, late round 5. This guy wants a new contract. He hasn't earned it. He doesn't deserve it yet. This guy's trying to act like he's Saquon Barkley getting mistreated. Oh, I'm part of the running back text group. Yeah. Why am I not getting paid? JK, you haven't earned a single bit of what you're trying to pull off right here with this monkey business, where you're trying to go in and you're acting like you're some Saquon Barkley, like you got some ability to go get a $30 million deal right now. You haven't stayed on the field yet. So J.K. Dobbins has no leg to stand on. No leg to stand on whatsoever. This is a circus right now going on in Baltimore at the running back position. Does J.K. Dobbins think his job's just going to be waiting for him? They're not going to cycle in other running backs like they've always kind of done and get this new offense learned by other RBs? What's J.K. Dobbins going to do when he's not versed in the offense that's changing right now under Todd Monken? What are you going to do then, J.K.? Your job's not even going to be there fully when you come back. Then what are you going to get in terms of a contract later? Some of these guys just don't think it out. You're not Barkley. You're not Saquon Barkley, JK. You're not a part of this whole running backs need to get paid situation, JK. Prove it, stay on the field, and then circle back. Like, I don't know what JK's even thinking here. I have no idea what he's thinking. But it's not helping his fantasy value, and he's certainly a player I'm avoiding if he's not going to drop like 2 rounds in ADP value. Strapped in, ready for injury, says Overcome. Thank you for the super chat, my guy. We all have to be prepared. The injuries are going to come pouring in. Any super chats that come in, I'm going to immediately address right away. I'm going to stay on top of it today. I want to make sure you guys know I'm on top of super chats today. Nothing's getting by me today. I'm tired of making mistakes and making a few of you wait and missing something. I'm on top of it. I'm going to keep on the ball all show long in terms of these super chats. And I'm going to pull up my feed here so I can look at the YouTube membership comments and such as well. Yard's still going great. The guys, the boys are in the backyard fixing it up so we can do some amazing live streams in the backyard with the basketball hoop. It's going to be phenomenal. J.K. Dobbins, we've already covered that, so this is a complicated situation. Complicated. J.K. better get in there because, my point was I'm not worried so much about him cold turkey getting thrown into a game or something because he's a quarterback. A running back, though, it's a really tough thing to do, even a wide receiver, but a running back especially. Wide receivers, too, because of hamstrings and quads and different things. You can pull a calf. You can pull those things when you just get thrown to the wolves and you're out there cutting and exploding. And I'm not saying Burrow's not cutting and exploding, but this is a guy that's going to use his explosion less in to a different degree than an RB or a wide receiver. Running backs especially, needing to hit the hole. Can't hit the hole, you can't play running back. You need explosion. And if J.K. Dobbins is going to hold out or hold in, so to speak, he's holding in, and he's not going to get versed in the offense, a new changing offense under Todd Monken that's going to try and throw more on top of that, and they have a history of running back by committees in this organization, this is not a good look for J.K. Dobbins, and he's currently on my avoid list until further notice. And we'll reassess if something changes. Josh Jacobs was reportedly offered a contract worth up to $12 million per year, and he turned that sucker down, according to NFL Network. I don't understand what he's doing, because Saquon Barkley didn't even get that, and he's rejecting those offers because he's what? Because he was the leading rusher. I get it. But he's not going to get that, not in this running back climate, and to keep holding out. He's now, like JK, I'm talking about Josh Jacobs now, putting himself at a major injury risk, because he's holding out. And holding out or not showing up to sign your franchise tag, rather, is putting him in a vulnerable position to get injured. And then what's going to be waiting for him on the other side of the season when he misses 8 games and nobody's going to pay him $12 million a year. He won't get the franchise tag amount per year if he comes out of 2023 injured and hobbled and failed. Like, he's not going to, you can't springboard off of an elite season like he had last year. Let's give him his flowers. Let's send him to the moon for not his character, but his performance last year, and say that, Jacobs deserves a chance to get the bag. I've never said that he doesn't deserve it. He went out there, he balled out, and now he's stuck in a horrible situation that he won't even report to. It's so bad. And then people say, oh, Jacobs will be fine. Jimmy G will be fine. Devontae Adams will be fine. Why did Adams not want to play with Jimmy G? Why did Jacobs not want to play with Jimmy G? Why is Jacobs not reporting at all? It's not just financially, because he said he would have gladly signed the franchise tag number and contract had they went and got Aaron Rodgers or capable quarterback. He already said it publicly. I will sign my franchise tag if you load up to win a championship. Clearly, no one's buying in on the team as far as the big name players that this team is going to win anything this year. They're going to be hard pressed to win 4, 5, 6 games at most. I'd give it 4 or 5 games at best. Jacobs is in a very, very bad spot, and for that reason, I'm out on this guy, and he's not getting. I can't believe he turned down a $12 million per season deal. Now, we don't have the details. Maybe the guaranteed money wasn't matching up with what we're thinking it would say. Javonte Williams' ACL has been cleared for contact, but is unsure if he will play in the preseason. This feels like he's a little bit ahead of where maybe Barkley was, during his comeback year. And we got Zach Morales with a 1-year membership comment says, can Breece still be top 10 if Dalvin signs? Absolutely. We'll get to Dalvin Cook and Breece Hall in a second. And all the overreacting Oscars out there on Breece Hall. Like, Breece Hall is going to fall apart and turn into a pumpkin because Dalvin Cook shows up. Like, you got to be kidding me. You got to be kidding me. I hope Dalvin. You know what? You may be looking at me right now saying, Smitty, you're crazy, Smitty. You might be looking at me saying, Smitty, I can't believe you're saying what you're saying. I'm about to hang up on myself here. I hit the wrong button. You're looking at me and you're saying, Smitty. You're saying, Smitty, you're telling me Dalvin Cook doesn't affect Breece Hall?
Alert. Maximum levels reached. Prepare for transformation. Alert. Maximum level.
Time for a Smitty rant.
This topic is about Mr. Breece Hall. Sometimes, and we're going to do more rants around here because I'm getting angry. Dalvin Cook is scaring some of my people into thinking that Breece Hall is going to get overtaken. That Breece Hall can't take away Dalvin Cook's touches because if Dalvin Cook comes to this offense that he doesn't know yet, Breece Hall's versed in it. That he's just going to come in and they're going to be like, well, we might as well use him and let's put Breece Hall on the shelf. Look, Breece Hall probably regardless of Dalvin Cook being on the roster or not, might potentially be eased into action. They said, quote unquote, to a degree, I'm paraphrasing a little bit because my memory doesn't remember the exact phrase, but it was something along the lines of, we got to do right by Breece Hall and not force him into the situation at 15, 18 totes a game in week 1, in week 2, in week 3. And I can tell you right now, from experience, that when you tear your ACL, ladies and gentlemen, you can look at the back of this model. You'll see the PCL and ACL crossing over each other in the middle of the knee. When you tear your ACL, what happens? You're on the shelf for a while. You get atrophy in the quad. You don't use your knee quite as much. It starts to get a little like laxed. It's not as tight of a joint. They go in and they try and tighten that up and make that tight. You got all kinds of, issues with potentially scar tissue, and you got to move the knee. You got to make sure you get it back to form. And there is a potential shock that his knee is going to go through no matter how many times he's on the field, cutting left and right, running 23 miles per hour down the field like a monster. When you go out there and you play 100% football in pads, getting hit in the side, and most importantly, what people don't know about running backs and players is when you think about it, they're planting, right? Like a wide receiver is going through a lot of his motions. He might get caught up, hit by 2 or 3 guys and kind of get jostled around, right? Running backs on every single attempt, they get the football. Okay? And they're running through the hole, cutting, and as they're cutting, their direction is being changed 2 and 3 and 4 times a second by all the impact they're getting. So they're making cuts and plants that are not level or even at the expectation of the balance of it all. So you got a running back literally running, cutting, and getting hit left and right. And the knee, if you can imagine how sore his knee or any knee is going to be coming back and trying to play, just going like this as is trying to cut and plant as people are hitting him left and right. The running back is a specific ACL recovery concern. Like receivers can come out and ball out and do really well. They're not quite as quick, but they can be smart. They can run good routes. They can still catch the football. Good hands. Boom. Grab it like Calvin Ridley. Boom. Calvin Ridley. Boom. Calvin Ridley. Boom. But running backs are a special case of ACL recoveries. And this is not to say I'm worried about Breece Hall. I'm actually really excited about Breece Hall. He's way ahead of schedule. He's way more advanced than Javonte even. Even though Javonte was cleared, that's great. That's great news. Breece Hall is going 23 miles an hour down the field. You can't go 23 miles an hour down the field if you have instability in the knee. It's all about getting used to cutting, trusting yourself cutting, not feeling like you're standing on the top of a ladder and somebody's going to kick the ladder out from you. That's how the knee feels when you tear the ACL and you come back for the first time and you cut. It almost felt like the first time I cut, it felt like somebody severed my knee in half and then just set me back on top of it without any ligaments or anything attached. And I swear, the first time I cut, I was like, I'm going to topple over. Like someone kicks a ladder out from you standing on the top of the ladder. So much goes into your mind as a running back. My whole point being, Breece Hall is not going to come out and run the ball 18 times a game in weeks 1, 2, 3, 4. His knee's going to go through brute force trauma. It's going to swell. His knee's going to say, as a reactionary measure, holy crap, holy shit, I'm cutting for the first time. I better inject swelling to protect the knee. What's swelling do? It's kind of like an air cast. It says, swelling says, I better protect this ligament. I better protect this knee. It feels awfully volatile right here. He's going to have swelling. He doesn't want to go out and run 18, 19, 20 times a game. What is Smitty saying? Smitty's talking me out of Breece Hall all of a sudden. No, I'm trying to tell you that no matter what, this guy, Carter, or the other rookie, a band of candy, or the Candyman, the Candyman comes in, and he's going to potentially take on some work. No matter what, Breece Hall is going to get his 10, 12 touches, or 10 to 12 carries in week number 1, maybe a couple more touches, maybe 4 receptions. Still could be very efficient, maybe 60 yards and a touchdown on that type of workload. But you have to understand that it's week 4, 5, 6 that he's going to get fully unleashed, fully unlocked, getting 15 carries a game, 14 carries and 4 receptions, 18 carries and 3 receptions, 12 carries and 6 receptions, 100 total yards a lot of the time. That's going to happen week 3, 4, 5. That's when he's going to start getting on his horse. For anybody to think that Dalvin Cook's coming in to take away what Breece Hall's already been handed, his piece of the pie is already cut out. It's crazy. It's crazy. Not to mention the Jets aren't necessarily going after Dalvin Cook. The Jets are not going to pay him borderline starter money. Dalvin Cook is a character problem. He's got the off-the-field situation returning from over a year ago when we said this could come back. This little domestic situation that just kind of went away, it could come back, and now it's back, and who the hell knows what that does. Probably won't affect him during the season is what we're hearing, because these things, especially after Alvin Kamara's situation, they need to play out legally before they actually come into play. We got a $10 hauler from Cam dropping a $10 wad on screen. Cam, thank you for your super chat. Cam says, first super chat of the season. All I have to say is all the petrified Peters and Bobs out there, in Smitty we trust, get law dogged. Appreciate you, my guy, for the $10 hauler. My final thought on this is this. Dalvin Cook probably, could he be brought in? Sure. Should he be brought in? No. Am I scared that if he's brought in that he takes away from Breece Hall? No. If he comes in, will he get carries? Yes, he will. But he's taking carries away from the other backs that are going to help supplement and get Breece Hall onto the field the proper amount of times in week 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm not saying you're drafting Breece Hall for weeks 5 and on. I'm not saying Breece Hall is going to be incapable of being good for you in weeks 1, 2, 3, 4. And he certainly could be a monster in week 1. I just think your expectation should be that he's going to get you about 10 points in week 1, about 10 points in week 2, about 13 points in week 3, about 14, 15 points in week 4, and then he gets back on his horse, and from week 5, let's say, and this is I'm just picking an arbitrary date. I don't know exactly when the switch is going to be flipped, but let's say this man in week 5 becomes the number 1 running back in fantasy football. Off of just his week 5 to week 17, those points right in there could have him as a top 5 running back, even if you removed week 1, 2, 3, and 4 from his game log, which you won't do. You're going to add that into the mix. But my point is, this is a top 5 running back, even if he sat out the first 2 or 3 weeks of the season. And so I'm not worried about Dalvin Cook, who we've heard has dropped off. I'm not worried about the Jets being all in on him at a high cost. Unless Dalvin Cook's market share and market value tanked off of the off-the-field problems that are potentially going to pursue him, I don't know that the Jets are going to be in the game. I think the Jets are going to lowball him. They're going to say, hey, we want to bring you in as a backup, a change of pace. We got a good team. He might be saying, I want to win a championship. And Breece Hall, it's got to be a conversation where they say, Breece, he's not taking your job. He's not taking any of your work. We need you to stay healthy. We want you to start the season off really good. This is kind of for weeks 1, 2, 3, 4. And he's really going to be taken away from Carter. He's taken away from the rookie. This is what we're talking about. This is all we're talking about. And if you let Dalvin Cook drop into round 4 because of if you let Breece Hall drop into round 4 because Dalvin Cook lands on roster in New York, guess what I'm doing? I'm doing another live stream where I'm coming out here and I'm saying this is the best thing that ever happened to Breece Hall's value. Joe Burrow's injury today, I hate to say it the way that it's coming out, was the best thing that could have happened to your future Joe Burrow shares that you're about to consume. No one wants Joe to be injured. It's not ideal. If you've already drafted, this isn't a great thing. This isn't a great thing at all. Nobody wants Joe Burrow to have a calf strain right now, even if it is just a calf strain. Not a tear, a strain. It's not ideal, but your future self, the one that's going to draft in August, all the best ball drafts on Underdog Fantasy, promo code Smitty, Underdog Fantasy, promo code Smitty, we're drafting tonight. Make sure you hit that link in the description of this video. In every video, use code Smitty, and they'll match up to $100 in your first deposit. But at Underdog Fantasy, we'll be drafting tonight. But I have to say to you that I believe going forward, our Joe Burrow shares, our future Joe Burrow shares, it's got more risk baked in and more upside baked in than ever before if he falls into round 5, 5.5, even 6.1 because of the calf strain. It's not that I want injury for him. It's not that I'm glad he got hurt. I'm just telling you that there's an entry point opportunity when there's an injury and something we're not concerned about. I liken it to Kenneth Walker and Zach Charbonnet. Do I love that Zach Charbonnet landed on the roster in all the leagues where I have Kenneth Walker already? No. No, I don't. Unless I can cuff him, then I feel very secure, and I sleep actually pretty well at night having the duo. I prefer the duo over just Kenneth Walker. I do. Even in leagues where I already paid the piper for Walker, but I was able to acquire or draft Zach Charbonnet, I'm still sleeping better at night with the duo because the duo is straight fire. However, am I excited in leagues where I already had Kenneth Walker and I paid the price? No, I'm not excited. Well, how could you be excited? Am I excited about Kenneth Walker now that I get to draft him, my future self, my August self, my go forward underdog fantasy promo code Smitty self? Am I excited about every single Kenneth Walker share I'm getting in 4.5 to 5.4 territory? You bet your bottom dollar I'm excited. I wouldn't press the undo button if I could to get Zach Charbonnet off roster. If you could tell me that this button right here would reverse the drafting of Zach Charbonnet in Seattle, I wouldn't push it. I don't care how many of you begged, because guess what? Kenneth Walker at 5.1, 5.4, 4.10 is better than Kenneth Walker in round number 2, and I can cuff Zach Charbonnet with ease. Joe Burrow, I would undo it. If I could undo the calf injury, I would, because that's the kind of guy I am, and I love Joseph Cigar Smoking Burrow, and my benefit is no concern here. I want him to be healthy. But in the same type of breath, is Joe Burrow better to draft going forward on Underdog Fantasy promo code Smitty or in your up-and-coming redraft league? Is Joe Burrow better to draft with the calf injury in round 5, maybe 6.1, than 4th round Joe Burrow healthy out there today, not tearing his calf? What's better? The answer is Joe Burrow with the calf injury is better. So it's all about perspective. Learn about it and stop being petrified about everything you see, Peter. Okay? Back to the show. Here we go. Cade says you lie. I lie about what, Cade? Please enlighten me about what I'm lying to you about today, Cade. Lecture, appreciate you being here. Lecture says push it, Smitty, please. I'm not pushing it. I wouldn't push the button if you begged me to undo the Zach Charbonnet situation. I wouldn't do it if you begged me. If every single one of you begged me, I wouldn't press the button. Not at all. Not one single time would I even consider it. Not 1 minute. Because Walker around 5 wins you a league. I have so many Walker shares. In this new underdog series, the Palms and the Slow Puppies, I want to say I have Walker in like 85% of them. And he's been falling to round 5 like clockwork. I'm drafting Kenneth Walker as my 5th drafted player like freaking clockwork. I'm not getting excited and grabbing him at 4. I'm getting him in 5. Round 5 every single time. It's absolutely crazy. And hold on, Ron Navy. Let me just get through these last pieces of news here. So Javonte's been cleared for contact. That's great news. 227 of you in here. Punch that thumb up button. Aaron Rodgers signed a new contract, reconstructed 2-year, $75 million contract that essentially gives himself a $35 million pay cut because he wants to play for multiple years. And he said this doesn't feel like a 1 or a 2-year thing. The guy's, for the first time in a long time, telling us he's not going to necessarily hang it up after the season. He's not, I'm going to play it by ear. He literally is like a kid in the candy store. Smile on his face. He's rejuvenated. He's playing younger. He's going to have the best team he's ever had before, sum total. And I know everyone's worried about Garrett Wilson right now, but I should have eased your mind on Garrett Wilson. He appears fine at this moment unless something is dropped in the middle of my rant, which I'm going to refresh and look at right now. We got Dalvin Cook news. Like I said, potentially the Jets are meeting with them, and they're looking at Dalvin Cook. I don't know that that's going to play out. Similar to Hopkins, the Patriots, it wasn't going to happen. The Patriots lowballed them. They didn't want to pay the price. The Jets are going to lowball Cook. The Jets are going to say, look, Cook, you got no real bites, right? You got no real bites. Miami kind of wanted you. We've heard that Minnesota wanted to bring him back. That sounds like it could be a possibility, which would tank Alexander Madison shares like crazy. I have a feeling the Jets are going to say, come in, and we're going to go ahead like a car dealer, offer you the worst offer you've ever heard, and Dalvin Cook's going to get up and walk out. I don't see them paying him top dollar and putting that on Breece Hall and trying to ruffle feathers there. No running back like Breece Hall is going to want to see a player come in and getting very competitive to start type money. Anything can happen, and even if it did, I would be trying to reap the benefits of him falling into round 4. Because I think if Dalvin Cook lands in New York, Breece Hall will fall in round 4. The PUP list, which concerns me, 0, because he's out there running 23 miles per hour, which you can't do if you're injured or you're hampered or you're not ready. He's running 23 miles per hour from an ACL recovered person. I can tell you right now, there's no way you can do that. Your stability of your knee is not just about cutting left and right and twisting. When you're running, if the stability isn't there, it even is happening on a north-south level. You're literally like off balance. You don't have if he was to run 23 miles per hour and his knee wasn't up to par, he would have swelling like you can't believe. And he'd have potentially, he'd feel like he's going to tear a meniscus out there if his knee wasn't stable. He is so further along than Barkley was his recovering year, and JK his recovering year. It's not even close. It's not even close. And we don't know where maybe Javonte starts creeping into the, oh my God, he's way ahead of schedule territory if he keeps, news keeps breaking like this. Rashee Rice is working. He led all receivers with the first team reps in training camp, which is very, very nice. Keep in mind, Tony has been injured. So, but this is good news for Rice, because in Andy Reid's system, it's hard for a rookie or a young player or a new incoming player to learn the playbook, like we've said a bunch of times on the show. So the fact that he's running with the ones is a very, very good sign. And if he is as good as some say he is, and as I think he could be if he was fed in that offense by Mahomes, this could be the guy. It's Sky Moore. The problem is it's very cloudy. Sky Moore, Rashee Rice, you got MVS, you got Tony still in the picture. You've got, there's just, I don't know if it's going to be Sky Moore or not. I like Sky Moore a lot. You got Justin Ross, who we've heard has the trust of Patrick Mahomes. It's very cloudy. You just got to be creative where you take these guys, how many you cuff together, which players you cuff. But there's definitely nice upside for Rashee Rice. Burrow, that's that news on Burrow. Jacobs, we got the Burrow, we got the Jacobs. I think we got to everything pretty much on screen. Ron Navy, you're live on the Fantasy Football Show, pal.
Hey, brother.
What's up?
We just got back about 40 minutes ago. It was a long day.
Yeah, tell me about
but
it.
everything. Okay, she's in bed resting.
That's good. Everything's...
Burrow, I agree on what you said with Burrow and the value and all that, but I'm a little leery now with Burrow. And it's your fault. Only because you've been dealing with calf issues and recurring. When you think your calf is good, you
I'm
go
an old
running
man,
and you
Ron.
hurt it.
I'm an old man.
That's why I'm worried about Burrow. The other thing
Ron's
that I
using
got,
my calf injury.
hold on, let me get this out real quick.
All right.
The other thing I got is I don't think it'll happen, but I think the best fit for Cook, in my opinion, would be San Diego. To help relieve the load off of Miller. I think San Diego should go out and get them.
It's Los Angeles. It's Los Angeles, Ron.
Now, I'll try and let you respond.
Yeah, it's Los Angeles, not San Diego anymore. But yeah, the Chargers would be a good spot. That would be horrible for Eckler fans, though, because they're going to be looking at the same situation. But I think they would potentially bring him in to use him. Why do I say that? Because Kellen Moore loves to use multiple backs. So some might say, Smitty, that's hypocritical to say Dalvin Cook won't affect Breece Hall. And, Hackett like to use multiple running backs. I'm telling you right now, not in Aaron Rodgers' system. They're going to lean on Breece Hall. Breece Hall is the future. He's a top 5 running back. Eckler is obviously a top 5 running back as well, but Kellen Moore loves to use multiple backs. Eckler is getting up there and older, and there's a chance maybe he misses some games this year. So I agree with you. From a football perspective, that would make me feel a whole lot better about Herbert. From at least one angle. The calf injury, don't compare my calf injury to his, because I'm an old man that's not a professional athlete. I'm running out there, and I, to be honest with you, I feel like some of my calf injuries are strains, And I just they're not tears because I can go out and run. Like right now I could go run. It would just be how long before it cramps up. And I don't know what the issue is with that. I run a lot, and this has been kind of a new thing, but it's been happening to me for a while. But Joe Burrow is going to be, and he will scramble. He will try and use burst and run, but Joe Burrow isn't going to be running, streaks down the field over and over and over and over. So I'm not as worried about him having a calf issue as much as I would like a wide receiver or a running back that's constantly using 100% explosion. He could be hobbled a little bit. We saw Patrick Mahomes play injured and win a Super Bowl. And I'm not saying you want that for Joe Burrow in week 1 to try and go through a season. I'm just saying that from a quarterback perspective, if he is still, let's say there's some soreness with it, or he's being cautious with it for a while heading into week 1, it's not a big deal to me. Any injury's bad. Like, it's not ideal. It really, could there be something more to this? Could he rush back and tear it? There's certainly that possibility. But what I'm trying to emphasize is that if he falls from round 4 down to 5.5, and someone said round 6, they would draft him around 6 now. And that's one person. I'm not saying we have a good sample yet of how people are going to react. But if Joe Burrow falls to 6.1, you're baking in him missing 4 or 5 games. Like, that's the craziest thing in the world. That value is crazy. I would take Joe Burrow in a millisecond in round 6 without a hesitation. I'll take him at 5 without a hesitation in a millisecond, and I'll still take him at 4. If, let's say, his ADP doesn't move at all, I have no hesitations about taking Burrow in 4. I will say this, though. I'm very, very prone to taking Fields and Burrow and rotating that out. Not at a 50-50, divide, but like a 65% Burrow, the remaining percent, mostly Fields, some T-Law. That's kind of my draft style this year, is going with those 3 guys. Little percentage of T-Law, only because I love Fields and Burrow so much. I could get behind saying right now in this moment, I'll 50-50 divide it, because I like Fields that much. I think Fields is that good. But Joe Burrow in round 5, if he even falls there, will be a smash. Round 6, absolute madness. And Garrett Wilson, scared Steven tried to come in and ruffle feathers on this one, saying that he's injured. I've been watching other shows that say you better watch it. Smitty, you should go check it out. I'm not checking out any other show, Steven. I'm busy dropping news myself. I'm busy giving you my opinion, Steven, and my projection and my take on it. I'm not worried about what someone else is saying, Steven. So we hung up on Steven because he came in here trying to ruffle feathers. He has an ankle injury. It's also not ideal, but we don't know how bad it is. And tomorrow we could see Garrett Wilson walking into the facility without a single limp. And then, the same thing. Remember, Ron, when you heard Aaron Rodgers had the calf injury, you were a little concerned for a minute. Look, these guys can get hurt. It's precautionary. Joe Burrow got onto a cart. He's going to go into a cart and not walk it off. And everyone's like, he's on a cart. He's done for the year. And I get the panic. I understand. But I came in to calm the storm.
No, I'm not panic to that extreme. And I said at the beginning, I agree with you what you said about the value dropping and picking him up. And I'm not going to fade him. I'm just letting you know that.
Yeah, my calf's bothering you.
Because I see, so you're an older guy, but still, lingering injuries, sometimes they linger and they cause problems. Now, it could be something that he can play with through the whole year and all that. And, so I agree with you that the value, and if he drops down, that's even better value, and take a chance on him. Still at that value, you can't beat it.
Yeah.
I still got a little concern in me.
I don't blame you. What I would try and say to anybody that feels the way Ron does is this right here. I think this defines it beautifully. Is it riskier to bank on him, or is it riskier to ignore the new ADP value that you're probably going to get presented with? Because if you ignore that, I venture to say there's more risk in watching somebody else completely smash. Think of Barkley. How many people were passing on Barkley because they were afraid he was going to sit out the entire season? And anybody that said, is it riskier to partake in this or riskier to not partake in it? And obviously everybody that grabbed Barkley at 3.1, 3.2, 3.3 for about a week straight were the ones that saw it the way, and it could have played out the other way. Look at Jacobs, but I did feel like Jacobs is more upset, not as clear thinking, not as business oriented. Barkley's a smart guy. He knows what he wants to accomplish. He knows he's got to go out onto the field and produce, or his next contract won't be there. Jacobs isn't looking that far ahead. Jacobs is trying to play checkers on a chessboard, and he's literally not thinking about what's going to happen if he goes out there and shits the bed. He's not getting what he's thinking he's holding out for. And, I just think that in the same sense, it was smarter to bet against the negative part of the Barkley situation than it was to watch someone else take advantage of it. So I think the same thing could be said here with Joe Burrow. Now, could I change my mind? Absolutely. I always reserve the right. I will always change my mind if I get a different feel or vibe, and I want everyone to know that. I know a lot of people think I dig my heels in on things, and maybe some things I do. We're all human beings. I have some bias involved in some stuff. You can't be 100% bias free, but I do believe I do a better job than most people of separating myself from the situation, which is why sometimes you'll hear somebody say Smitty's flip-flopping on something. It's not flip-flopping. It's me adjusting and adapting and reacting appropriately. And the same thing happened last offseason when Najee Harris, who I was very, very, very pro Najee walking into last offseason. And then when we heard he had the Liz Frank injury, it was like, God, I hate doing this, guys, but you want me to be honest. I'm out all of a sudden, and he ended up, being kind of a concern. He did have a nice bounce back end of the season, so there's a lot of hope for Najee. I'm not saying anything negative about 2023 Najee. I'm just saying that throughout the course of my season, I will do my very best to always be honest and upfront about a player's value and what I really believe, because what good am I if I'm just going to come in here and say, well, my preseason rankings said this, so I'm sticking to Joe Burrow no matter what. I'm trying to tell everybody I'm truly less concerned than I am concerned about missing the opportunity of stealing him away. J.K. Dobbins is starting to worry me, Ron, because I feel like J.K. Dobbins and Josh Jacobs are two of the same type of player that don't necessarily have good understanding of their situation and their power that they have. J.K. Dobbins is in the same text thread that Jacobs and Barkley are in, and he's trying to tag along. He's trying to tag along when he has no right to be like, I'm not playing till you give me money. He hasn't done anything yet. He hasn't been healthy. What's he doing?
Well, here's the other thing with that too, is Dobbins. He doesn't it's not like Saquon at all. You got Gus Edwards there that's actually looking pretty good and healthy during camp. And you think Baltimore's going to bend to Dobbins when they got Gus Edwards?
Yeah,
no, they're not. They're just going to be, okay, we'll move along, and Gus, you got the ball.
Yeah. And not to mention, Ron, and I got a bunch of super chats. I said I was going to stay on top of these, so let me get these out real quickly, Ron. Dynasty Superflex trade. This is from Giancarlo. Dynasty Superflex trade, Hill, Eckler, or JT 1.9 and Odell. I could care less about Odell. The 1.9's okay, especially in Superflex because it could bump Kincaid or Charbonnet down, so I don't hate that pick or anything. But JT and a shot at Kincaid or Charbonnet, and you're getting rid of Tyreek Hill and Eckler. I'm going to say no go on that, bro, because Eckler and Hill, one of those guys, one of them could play as long as JT. Like, JT's not guaranteed to play for 4 years at an elite level. Like, I would say I would go year to year with JT. Like, what if JT has a bad year again? Then he's worth nothing. He's not going to be he can be a 4th or 5th round pick next year, or he could be a top, 15 pick if he goes and balls out. But Eckler and Hill together outweigh that side, even in Dynasty. The problem is you're going after older players, and you got older players, and I don't know that I like the feel of that. I've got a 765 caller calling. What's your name and where are you calling from? I'm going to put you on hold real quick, but I just want to get your name and get you in here.
Hey, Smitty, this is Rob. I'm calling from Indiana.
What's up, my guy?
Hey, bud, how you doing, buddy?
I'm good. Let me put you in. Rob from Indiana. Hold on. Let me see if I can enter you in here real quick, bro. Rob from Indiana. Okay. Rob from Indy. Gotcha. Hang tight real quick while I answer these super chats. Can we throw hands with Steven? Ban him from the phone line. No, we need Steven in here. We need Scared Scott in here. We need people to keep us on our toes. But I appreciate your $2 holler. You certainly can send him on a lap whenever you super chat.
Take a
So I sent him on a lap for you. Breece to the moon, JK or Javonte, punt on both of them. I take Javonte, but you got to be careful. He's definitely not somebody that's going to for sure be a monster out of the gate. I think he's definitely behind Breece, but he's definitely ahead of where Barkley was. I think Javonte feels like he's more ready than Barkley was, but that could change at any moment. In either direction, he could become much more ready, or he could become, equal to what Barkley was at, or less. I mean, it just depends. But he has been cleared for contact, which is a great step, and we got a lot of time. We still got a lot of time before the season starts. A lot. We got well over a month still. That's tons of time. So appreciate you, Dez, dropping that super chat. I got Dez's super chat out of the way. I got Giancarlo, Dez, let's see, Harrison, and Cam. I think I got Cam's question here. Smitty, we trust. Yeah, I got everybody so far. Okay. And Ron, yeah, the J.K. Dobbins situation. The other part too about J.K. that's very concerning is that this is a new offense under Todd Monken. It's gonna throw more than run. At least that's their intention. So not only is he going to have less volume in a committee to divide up, if it is a committee, which new offense, new coordinator, but maybe still running back mentality. Now he's got to divide up more touches. Or fewer touches, divide up fewer touches, and he also is missing out on learning the system. So if you're right, and I'm not a big Gus Edwards guy, I kind of like the rookie a little more, but let's just say you're right. If Gus Edwards is the guy, he's learning the system. J.K. Dobbins is not. So if J.K. thinks he's going to come back in 2 weeks, 3 weeks from now, and be able to pick up what Gus Edwards or whoever is taking first team reps and surpass them, he might lose his job entirely. They might use him, as like Swift was in Detroit last year. Like it could easily turn.
What's funny is, and Travis was in the chat, but you can look it up, Travis. Gus Edwards, when he's on the field, he has far better yards per carry than Dobbins. That's a fact.
Is that true? Because isn't Dobbins like 5.5 yards per carry or something?
I don't think he's that high, but I know Gus Edwards is better than he is.
I think I would bet against that. I would say Dobbins is a yard per carry monster, but he can't stay on the field. But I'm pretty sure Dobbins has averaged like over 5 yards a carry his entire career. I could be wrong on that, but I would check into that real quick, Ron. My Yahoo draft is August 25, ready for all 411. Yeah, for the info. Appreciate you. Let's go over to Kyle. Or sorry, Rob. Kyle Lance, and then we'll go to Rob from Indy. Go ahead, Kyle.
Hey, Smitty.
What's up?
I had a question and an update about my dynasty, but I did want to add to the conversation we were on earlier. If you're still on the whole Breece Hall train.
Yes, sir. Go ahead.
So my question for you is, I guess we know that he's probably going to get 9 carries, and you said 12 carries.
Well, we don't know.
Yeah,
we don't know, but we're I'm just guessing. But yeah,
anticipating, right? We're anticipating that, and we're okay with that maybe for a long-term value. I think for that reason, at his ADP, what is his ADP right now? Is it at the top of the 3rd round?
It's right around there, but we don't really fully know if that's going to change in a direction that's very helpful. Like he could definitely be, as we speak, falling. Like especially in like redraft leagues, he got put on the PUP, and a lot of people don't understand what that means, and they just kind of take it as a oh my god, he's out for the first 4 games of the season. It's like no, he's on the active PUP, meaning he's out there running around and doing everything everybody else is doing. He's just technically speaking on the active PUP, and he's going to be removed at any moment. That's a total non-concern. Now J.K. Dobbins on the PUP is different because it's a complicated situation, and he's holding in, and they don't even know when he's going to come back and play football. So, I mean, maybe that resolves itself.
He's just not as good of a running back as Breece Hall is.
Yeah, but again, I would say that I wouldn't even put a number on what Breece is going to do, because maybe he catches 5 passes in week 1 and runs 9 times, and he has 100 total yards and a touchdown. Keep in mind that the game he tore his ACL, he had 4 carries for I believe 72 yards if I remember correctly. So he ran the ball 4 times for 72 yards or 70 yards and a touchdown. And one of those was his torn ACL. So he essentially ran the ball 3 times for 70 yards and a touchdown. I don't remember how many yards he got before he tore his ACL on that play. I want to say it was like 8 or 10 yards or whatever. It wasn't like he was breaking off a long run. So he probably ran for about 70 yards on 3 carries, and he had a touchdown. And Aaron Rodgers is going to just facilitate like he did in Green Bay and maybe use Breece Hall much like he used Aaron Jones. And I fully believe that 100 total yards on even 80% of the work that he would normally get. I'm not talking about 80% of the running back carries and touches. I'm saying 80% of what Breece Hall would normally get, he could still get you 100 yards and a touchdown. And if he doesn't, I mean, he's going to probably score you 10 points in week 1. You know, just think of it that way. And he could totally surprise us, and it'll be amazing, and we'll be celebrating. But I would just plan on him scoring 10 points in week 1. And then we'll take a, you know.
I think with Dynasty, obviously we're smashing Breece Hall, talented running back. He's going to be top 5 probably for a long time. I think in redraft, it depends for me where his ADP is. If he maintains that 3-1 or that round type capital, I'm preferring guys like Olave or even Ramondre or smashing a quarterback there. Just in redraft, it's hard for me to draft somebody that could potentially only get 9 carries for the first couple of weeks.
So I don't totally disagree with you. I guess the question you got to ask yourself is, are you taking Gibbs? Because if you're taking Gibbs, I love that. If you're taking Olave in the 3rd round, look, Olave belongs in round 2, so I can't even get mad at that. You're drafting Olave before you're drafting Breece. So in all those examples, I couldn't agree more. And it doesn't mean I don't love Breece Hall. But could Breece Hall average more yards per game or more fantasy points per fantasy start than any player in the outside of quarterbacks in the National Football League from like week 7 on? So, I mean, you really got to, like I said, prepare yourself for 10 points. And if you don't think he can get to 100 total yards a game and a touchdown, then, you know, maybe he's not your guy. And that's fine. But I don't mind you drafting Gibbs. I don't mind you drafting, Jalen Hurts falls to 3.1, and he does sometimes. It's weird how the quarterbacks fall in some best ball drafts, even on Underdog Fantasy. I'll see Jalen Hurts in round 3 all the time. Very, very strange when he falls there. But I think, I can't blame anybody for taking Jalen Hurts over Breece Hall. So you're right, it does depend, but I just want to make sure everybody knows that if he was going at 3.1 before the PUP, what do you think is going to happen over the course of the next month as that starts to settle in? Now, if he gets removed from the PUP really quick, then that will get washed. But the Dalvin Cook news, the PUP, the combo of that, the fact that I didn't see Schefter or Rappaport, I don't know if you guys saw, I didn't see them report on him running 23 miles per hour. Did anybody see Rappaport or Schefter tweet out that Breece Hall ran 23 miles per hour? Maybe I missed it. I'm actually asking. Did anybody see that? Because all I saw him report was he went on the PUP. I feel like the average Joe out there is oblivious to what's really going on, and he only hears that negative report. And so my whole thinking is that he's probably not at 3.1, bro. I think he's probably going to be 3.5, 3.6, which, again, would I take Gibbs over him? I think I'd split it. I think I'd take Breece in one league, Gibbs in another. I want both of them that bad. And Gibbs, I try and get around 4 anyway. I try. It's becoming very, very hard. And if I'm being honest, I'm taking him mid-3rd more than I'm taking him trying to push it.
I think that is kind of odd that he's out there running 23 miles an hour and then they put him on the PUP. But I guess PUP just means not potentially ready for week 1. Is that,
no.
What is that?
No, it's a chess game, bro, with roster spots. And, you put a guy in the PUP, active PUP, there's advantages to that. It's kind of like you're almost taxi squatting him for just a minute. You know what I mean? Like, he's on the active PUP. It is nothing. It's just chess moves in the preseason or in camp. They're getting a look at a lot of different guys. That's why you'll hear, okay, he went on the PUP. They could take him off in a couple days. Like, why would you put him on the PUP for 2 days unless there was some sort of, let's give this guy a look. let's adjust the roster this way, and we get a little extra time looking at this guy, put an eyeball on this guy. It's literally a chess move, bro. There's nothing that indicates Breece Hall is not ready for week 1 based on the PUP being the active PUP. You just can't go on the active PUP. Yeah, you can't. Yeah, don't worry about it. If there's something else that comes of it, I will let you know. And Hector dropping a $5 hauler. Smitty, can you rank your top 5 running backs in 0.5 PPR redraft? I'm at CMC, Saquon, Bijan, Eckler, JT, Henry right now. This is a tough question for me to answer because what I believe will happen is not where I suggest that you rank them. And so I kind of don't know which way to tell you. I don't know which way to answer this question if you want to hear what I believe to be the case or how I rank them. Bijan 1. I would say I would still put Christian McCaffrey 2. And when I have my debate about McCaffrey, Bijan, and I say that, the odds of injury for CMC are higher, that's me making the determination between Bijan and McCaffrey. It's not that I wouldn't take McCaffrey. Gibbs and Hall are truly, and Pollard and Walker are truly like next on my list. That I know I can't rank them there, but that's how I feel. That's what my gut tells me. Would I take either one over Eckler? Probably not. Would I take Barkley over all those guys? Probably. Barkley's in my top 5 or 6. I don't know if I had to predict how it's gonna shake out at the end of the year. I think it's gonna be a third place race for Gibbs, Breece Hall, Barkley, and Pollard and Walker. I think Chubb's gonna be in there. I think Eckler's gonna be in there, but Chubb and Eckler have a little bit more injury risk than I think a lot of people are willing to acknowledge. And that's kind of where I see those RBs. But ultimately, what I'm telling you is that I'd rather go wide receiver early if the best player available is in fact a wide receiver, and take these RBs like Walker, Gibbs, and players that I feel could be top 5 or 6 running backs that are in 3rd and 4th round territories. So thank you, Hector, for the super chat. All right, let me go over to Rob from Indy. Rob, what's up, my guy? I'm sorry if I said anything. Yeah, I'm sorry if I said anything about JT that might upset you. It's not that I hate JT at all. I just think JT's a tough player to draft at like 2.1, 2.2, whereas ADP kind of is, because a lot of vulturing could happen, and this system is going to be like, there's so many moving parts right now for JT, and we've never seen him rebound or be back to full form. He had one of the quietest running back 1 seasons we've ever had in fantasy. People always said after that season that he's not really the 1.1 member going into last year, even though he was typically everyone's 1.1 last year. He wasn't everybody's favorite 1.1 carrying over from 2021 into 2022, because it was kind of almost a poor man's version of the running back 1 overall type of season. But what are your feelings on JT being in Indy?
Hey, Smitty, first of all, man, I just want to say, a long-time listener, first-time caller, man, I just want to say that I appreciate your show. I've been playing fantasy football for 25 years. We've been in our same league for 23. And I just want to say there's no one better in the game than you.
Thank you,
You're the best, bro. I didn't need anything. Just wanted to say thank you for what you do. And I love all the updates and all the information, man. You make fantasy football really fun. I appreciate you, bud.
Thank you, bro. Half of it's entertainment. I do realize that, and I try and make the show as entertaining as possible. I don't land everything. I try my best. If I didn't land more than I missed, I wouldn't probably be in business anymore. But I do believe that there is a sort of like reactive part of this business where it's like we all make mistakes together, and how do we adapt going into the next week? And so I do try and make it, as entertaining as possible. And I appreciate, you guys like you calling in and all the kind words, and we'll just keep it rolling. Let's get this thing growing. Tell all your friends. Let's do what McAfee did there in Indiana. All right. Let's do that here. Let's build something. Let's build something bigger than we ever imagined.
I love it. I'll tell you, I am excited about JT though. I like looking at players that are coming off down years. I like their value picks for me. So, I am still excited about JT. He's a good guy, and let's not forget, until last year he was the best running back in the league, and I still think he's got the potential. He's still young. I think the Colts, I'll be honest with you, not to sound like a homer, I think the Colts they could come out of nowhere this year and surprise. I mean, the AFC South, other than the Jags, isn't really that great. I mean, 9 games could win that division.
I mean,
so I'm fired up. I'm excited about it. I'm excited about AR as well.
If I didn't feel so strongly about the Jaguars, I would say I agree that there's an opportunity. And I think you guys will look better than people I think are going to assume or anticipate. But I do believe that even in a good year, AR is going to lose some games and, learn. And so, but he's going to be exciting from a fantasy perspective. Like, I can't wait to see if this guy busts, we're going to have a problem ever looking at physical attributes again when they're overwhelming like they are with him. He's literally
like he said, though, he's an alien. We've never seen anything like him. So I mean, it is exciting. But yeah, you're right. If he busts, it'll be a big one for sure. But
yeah,
I love that they took a shot at it and went for him. And why not drop the best, the player with the best attributes? Why not draft that guy?
I wanted him, bro. I wanted him in Arizona. I'd rather have him over Kyler. Oh, yeah. So I'm jealous.
No, I still love Kyler. What's your feelings on Kyler? You still think he's legit as far as a franchise player?
No, I don't want him. I didn't want him to extend him. I don't believe in him. I think he's a good talent. I think he proved that his size is not a deficiency at all, which is what gives me hope for Bryce Young. He literally, Kyler was a top 5 fantasy quarterback for a string of time. Like, I think everyone forgets. Like, he was he was like ranked above Lamar, and coming off Lamar's like huge year, he was still, people liked Kyler more than Lamar in some cases. Like, Kyler's a talent, but he's got horrible drive, and I just don't feel like he's got the grit, and I don't know. I don't want to tie myself to a player that I don't believe in, and that the team's not even backing. Like, he doesn't even get along with his teammates like he should. They say he's like keeps to himself. He doesn't like. I just don't know that that's the kind of leader that I want to pay the amount of money we paid him. It's not that I think we could do better. We could if we get Caleb. If we get the one, the Cardinals are according to Vegas the odds-on favorite to get the number 1 and number 2 overall pick. So if we get Caleb Williams and Marvin Harrison Jr., I'm going to be so excited as a Cardinals fan.
Yeah.
We'll have to trade Kyler.
Jr. Obviously, yeah, that would be awesome for you guys if you could pull that off.
I mean, trade Kyler is going to be hard, but I think there'll be a suitor.
Do you think Harrison Jr.'s got a chance to go number 1 overall next year?
No, not over Caleb. Not over Caleb.
You don't think so?
No way. Not unless Caleb gets hurt or busts or something this year or anything.
Right.
But no, he's so. And another quarterback. I mean, we're gonna do a lot of rookie stuff here soon. You're gonna have 1 or 2 people that potentially get into the mix.
Right.
All right, hang tight. Yeah, you can hang tight on the line if you want. Let me circle back on over to Ron. Ron says, breaking news, Smitty joins ESPN. Look, I've made it very, very clear to you guys that, and I'm just telling you the honest truth. If ESPN, look, I don't want to work for ESPN. I have people that come to me all the time and say, Smitty, you should work for ESPN, or someday you'll be there. Like, that's not my goal. My goal is for this YouTube channel to be bigger than ESPN's YouTube channel. Like, and I don't think that's crazy. I don't think that's crazy at all. Maybe I'll never be as big as ESPN, but my channel, the YouTube channel, could be as big. And maybe they have more grandfathered in subscribers and I never catch them. But when I go live 4 years, 5 years from now, I want my live numbers to be bigger than ESPN's numbers could ever be. But I've been very upfront with you. If someone came to me and offered me $40 million for 2 years, I would tell you guys to pause. I'll be right back. I would go take 40 mil. I would take 40 mil the next year. I'd swing back around. I'd make sure that they packaged in that my YouTube channel comes back to me, or I can just pause it and I'd get back to work. You guys would be okay without me for 2 years and watch me on ESPN and still say, Smitty, we know you sold out, but we're waiting for you to come back. I'm just being honest. You gave me $80 million. I'm gone for 2 years. Big deal. You'll be okay. You can come watch me on ESPN for 2 years. You can do that for me, okay? And then you know what I do.
The reason I said that is because you said, let's do what Pat McAfee did, and what Pat McAfee did is went to ESPN.
That's true. Hey, let's do that then. Let's do that too. Let's get 80 mil. Can I also make you a promise? If I got paid something crazy like that, I'd come back and everything would be for free for the rest of my life and career. My site, my rankings, everything would be free. I wouldn't charge for anything. I wouldn't try and, I don't even know if I'd run an ad again. If I was that set up. So it'd be good at the end of the day. But I do feel like, I know people are hurt that, you know, he was bucking the establishment, and I get it. But I'm just saying, I'm upfront about it. I would take $80 million. I'm sorry. But I don't want to work for ESPN. I don't. And if ESPN approached me, like, you guys got to understand, what I'm building, I believe, will be better than what they would ever offer me, because to them, I'm still a nobody. Even if somebody was like, hey, I was watching this show and this guy, I really like him, let's bring him in. They're still going to try and bring someone in like me at something that wouldn't even tempt me to step away from what I'm doing. So, that's never going to happen. If ESPN called me and said, hey, we want you to do an hour spotlight, where it says Smitty from the fantasy football, like, of course I would do that for promotional reasons, but anyway, let's go over to Ron. Did you have anything else? Anything news related? Jacobs, Aaron Rodgers, J.K. Dobbins, Rasheed Rice, Dalvin Cook, or any other piece of news? Oh, what about Miami Dolphins? Devastating. Injuries are just sickening right now. And it's like, we're going to see this. We're going to absolutely have injuries just kind of strike, 2 or 3 huge big name players. And the Miami Dolphins were hit hard with Ramsey. Let me put this on screen here. Jalen Ramsey is going to need surgery, and this is brutal.
I didn't hear about that.
Yeah, let me see if I can put it on my screen here. I got to share this real quick and drop it. Where is it? There we go. Boom, boom, boom. Breaking news, Adam Schefter, Dolphins 6-time Pro Bowler Jalen Ramsey will undergo knee surgery and is expected to miss the start of the regular season with the injury that he suffered during today's practice. Per league sources, Ramsey's ACL is intact, though, which is positive. So he's going to have knee surgery, depending on the, meniscus or how severe it is. He could be back, sooner than later, but as long as he didn't suffer an ACL tear, that's really, really good news. However, they still could go in and find out there's more damage or something like that. So everyone needs to kind of like hold their breath and not assume this is 100%. Just like Joe Burrow. Like they could say Joe Burrow actually tore his calf. We'll have to find out. That could happen. As of this moment, with the calf strain, and that's what we know, it's riskier, I think, to avoid him than to jump in to this situation and take full advantage of the dropping ADP. But man, this is it's brutal. It's brutal. Injuries are brutal. 1 second here. 1 second. Let me just make sure. Ziggy, show me the front door. I got to make sure. Hold on 1 second, guys. I got these yard guys, and they constantly need to ask me questions. Hold on 1 second for me.
Yeah, it's crazy. He's right. Every year, we're always going to have players, big name players that get injured, going to affect our fantasy one way or the other.
Yeah. And just so everybody knows, do you remember last year when we pulled up the I think it was like week 4 or 5, week 6. I don't remember when it was. It was like a good month into the season, I think, minimum. And we pulled up Ziggy off. We pulled up the top 25 overall rankings. Ziggy off. We pulled up the top 25 overall rankings or ADP, and we went player by player, and I think it was 60+% of the entire top 20, or it was top 30, I believe. 65+% of the entire top 30 were either complete busts or absolute disappointments. There was like no middle ground. It was bad. And I know some of that leveled out, but it's like we got to be prepared. It sucks. You never think it's going to happen. Like when Joe Burrow, got on a cart, and when it first was reported, it was like, oh my God, your heart sank. I didn't go live right away because I was trying to get the update. I don't want to go live on not having the good news, and then having to re-go live. And so I just waited briefly. But it's like you never think it's going to happen, right? You just think, oh, no, it'll be fine. The guys we like will be fine. But it's like, son of a bitch, man. One of these players we're talking up.
Last year, we were talking on IG real time watching the Jets when Breece Hall went, and we were like, oh, no.
Yeah. I mean, it's going to be, we're just going to be like son of a bee, just crazy. Yeah, Breece Hall going down was just
You know
devastating.
what? Can I interject on that for a second, Smitty? I like that you mentioned that about how many players in the top 30 whatever busted last year. I think it really speaks to your ability to find people and players and rank them at places that are out of the ordinary. You know what I mean? And it doesn't matter where people assume they may be. Just because they're not appearing in that top 30 doesn't mean they can't be top 10 or top 5 or whatever, you know, because look at last year and it's evidence to players that aren't being drafted highly by the community coming out at top 10 or top 5.
Yeah. And you're also baking in when you draft a guy like Kenneth Walker in round number 5. You're baking in so much of the risk of him even getting hurt. You know what I mean? It's kind of like saying, okay, we're putting a little bit of injury risk in the bank. Like Walker comes with 3 or 4 missed games if you need him to, and you're getting a guy that might not miss 3 or 4 games. So that's what I love to do is every draft selection I make, I'm trying to pick a player that can explode from their ADP every single time I'm on the clock. And that may seem like an easy thing to do, and it's Captain Obvious stuff. But for whatever reason, every human being gets on the clock, and for some reason they don't take the best player available. They take a position of need. That's why I always say never draft a position, draft a player, draft best player available. And I helped a guy last year. I talked about this before. I helped a guy last year. He ordered a draft call, which you can order at thefantasyfootballshow.com. Thefantasyfootballshow.com. Rankings, bold predictions, text advice, all the articles, trade calculator. And on this site, you can order draft calls, and they're an hour. And I had a guy last year order a draft call, and I said, what do you want to do? Because it's not always up to me, right? I want you guys to draft who you want. I want to help you, but I don't want to draft your team. I want you to draft a guy that we both believe in together when we're on the clock. He's like, Smitty, whatever you want to do. He's just like, you could tell he's ADD, just high energy, all in type of guy. He's going to push all the chips in. And I'm like, okay. He's like, whatever you want to do. I'm like, well, let's take best player available. Are you okay with that? He's like, yeah. I'm like, it could make it uncomfortable. He's like, no problem, Smitty, no problem at all. I'm like, but we might actually have like a crazy like vacancy at your running back too. And we're going to have to fill it with like Kenneth Walker, players like that. And we're going to scoop up 5 or 6 of those guys. And if you land it, you're going to crush everybody because you're going to be loaded everywhere but your gaping hole of your running back too. And he's like, no, let's do it. We drafted the best team we could have possibly drafted. I was so excited. Got Joe Burrow super late. He had a killer team. Breece Hall. I know Breece Hall went down, but he had a killer team. He had Walker, and I forget what other running backs he had. Probably McKinnon's and players like that totally did their job to fill in at that running back too. By week 2, this guy was in a panic attack. He messaged me. He's like, Smitty, I can't help it. I don't have a running back too. It's driving me crazy. He dismantled the whole team by like week 2.5. Just dismantled the whole team. Did these trades backwards. Gave up, a bunch of players to get just players to fill voids. His team looked like trash by the end of like week 3. And I was like, what the hell did you do? And here's Walker sitting there ready to go. And all he had to do was be patient and draft players that had so much more upside than the value that you're paying. And it's like you buy a guy like Walker last year or this year in the 5th round, you're getting 3-4 gifted games of injury risk if you need him. And if he doesn't, he's a top 5 running back. If Walker doesn't go down, he's a top 5 running back. And if he goes down, you're buying him in the 5th round. It's crazy. Pacheco, same thing. Get Pacheco in round 6 or 7. I mean, goodness gracious, man. Cuff him to McKinnon. You're getting so much more value than that at 6th round, 7th round value. Pacheco's gold there. And if you miss on him, we'll get you squared away. What's up?
Yes, but you're right about all that. Because of you, I got a Skywalker last year in the 15th round, which was one of my best picks. We did 17 rounds, but I got him in the 15th round and saved my season. My best trade, unfortunately, I love Javonte as well, but I traded Alexander Madison. I had Pollard, but I traded Madison and Zeke for Javonte, and I got to play him one half, and then he got hurt. But, that's the way it goes. Hopefully he recovers and comes back strong.
Yeah. Let me see if there's any other news right now that we can discuss right here. But these are all, big topics. Ramsey, it looks like Ramsey is expected to remain, Ramsey is expected to require a full meniscus repair and will likely be sidelined until December. That is an update.
Wow.
Yeah, and that's the thing about meniscus is I know a lot of people think meniscus is way better than an ACL tear. And to some degree it is, like on its face at the beginning, the upfront part. But meniscus is like, it's such a dangerous thing to lose. Where's my knee? When you tear that meniscus, now if you have a small meniscus tear, it's not as big of a deal. Like think of a meniscus tear as like if you've ever like bitten, it's a disgusting habit, but I'm sure everybody's bitten their finger like a little bit, like you got like a piece of skin or something. You pry it off and you go too far and you rip it and it burns and you're like, son of a bitch, why did I do that? I like to think of the meniscus cutting in a very similar like fashion, like in a weird way. Like when you have a little tear, if it's small and you can get rid of it, it could be a good thing. And like it's a tear, it's kind of a cut, and it can catch, and it's very painful, right? If there's some sort of like cut or tear that like is sticking up, and then your joint comes down on it, and it feels like almost like an electric shock. When I tore my meniscus, and I remember a couple times when I was stepping, and part of this could have been my ACL because my ACL was flopping around like a rubber band in the middle of my knee when I snapped it. But when your knee locks onto something, whether it's piece of meniscus that's torn or a floating piece of cartilage or whatever, because sometimes you do cleanup surgeries. You hear about people having cleanup surgeries. Sometimes what that is you're going in and you're trying to clean up and suck out any kind of like chipped bone or cartilage or scar tissue or something that's floating around in there. And when your knee goes down on something, it hurts so bad. It feels like something pressing on that meniscus. It feels like somebody's hooking jumper cables up to your meniscus pad there and just shocking the hell out of it. And so if you've got a tear there and they go in and they clean up that meniscus and it's just a real small tear, you could be fine. But if you got to go in and shave off like a big section that's torn and you can't fill it in, you have your knee that is now off kilter like a brake pad on a vehicle, that if you were to go in and slice off a corner of one of your brake pads, your car would just kind of be off kilter. And then over time, that creates wear and tear on your knee. It starts making your knee angled. You start putting pressure on it, and before you know it, 3 or 4 years down the road, you got knee issues and tendonitis. And Todd Gurley had that degenerative knee issue from having injuries to his knee. And so there's a lot that goes into that. So in the case of Ramsey, what they probably found, let me send this to myself and put it on screen here. Ramsey, they clearly went in there and the meniscus tear was a lot worse than they were hoping. And so this report right here is brand new. Jalen Ramsey is expected to require a full meniscus repair and will likely be sidelined until December if all goes well. So he might not even be back in December. If that's really, really bad news for the Dolphins. They had a really good defense, too. From a fantasy perspective, some would rank them around 10, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Like, depends on your ranking. But, I mean, that's devastating. That is devastating. Alexander Mattison is looks like Vikings OC. Wes Phillips is comfortable with Mattison on all 3 downs. That's good. That kind of indicates that maybe there isn't some sort of pursuit of bringing Dalvin Cook back like some of the news reports have been suggesting, like not lately, but like a week or 2 ago, there was a lot of buzz about that he was getting a big contract offer of like $6 million by the Vikings. I want to say that was like Scared Scott that came in and said that, or Steven, one of the two. Was not that they're reporting it, but that they were fearful of those reports, and you can't believe everything you see. So that's good news if you're a Madison owner, but who the heck knows, man? Maybe they do circle back and bring Cook back if Cook doesn't get any offers. Maybe they still are interested. No limitations for Odell Beckham Jr. Joe Burrow has been diagnosed with a strained calf. That seems to be official at this point, which is excellent news that they didn't go in and find something else. or that it was a torn calf. So this feels to be as official as is going to be. Let me drop this on screen as well. That's excellent news. This is confirmation. This isn't like speculation at this point. This is very, 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 very good news about Joseph Cigar Smoking Burrow. Let me put this right here and read this to you guys here. Here we go. This is from ESPN, Diana Rossini. Diana Rossini from ESPN confirms that Joe Burrow has been diagnosed with a strained calf. That was the initial word from Coach Zach Taylor and is also the word from a Bengals source. Translation, the team does not believe that it is an Achilles issue, which is great. And for people that don't know, your calf meets your Achilles. So here's your knee. Right about here is where your calf starts. And when your calf goes down to your ankle, sometimes your calf strain will be at the very top of the Achilles. So the Achilles and the calf. So that's good news that there's no concern of Achilles. There was no mention really of it, but they're just confirming that. Burrow may still require a few more tests, but it would appear the worst case scenario can be ruled out. Stay tuned over the next 24 hours. If I had to guess though, my stance earlier stands from the beginning of this show, not the earlier show. That according to Adam Schefter, or was it Rappaport, I forget, one of them said this, and I agree, that there's a high likelihood that Joe Burrow doesn't step back onto the field in a competitive situation, maybe, on training and rehabbing or whatever, until his contract's signed. Because if he goes out there and tears his calf, I honestly think they still give him the deal, but I think he's going to be instructed, hey, look, I know you want to go out there and let us do the business, the agents, let us take care of it. But we're telling you right now, until the new contract gets inked, you shouldn't go out there and risk tearing your calf. So we really could see Joe Burrow ink his biggest contract in NFL history coming off the back, springboarding off the back of Herbert's contract. We could see that in the next couple of days or weeks. And maybe Burrow sits out and does light throwing on the sideline and such, I could see him throwing. I could see him laughing. I could see him walking around without a limp, Like when I've torn my calf, Ron, I can walk without any concern at all. It's just I'll go and re-injure it when I run, but I'm an old man. This is a monster. This is a cigar-smoking young kid that can go out there, and I think he's going to shake this loose. It won't be something that hampers him. Do I know for certain? No. But there's no tear. That's good. A strained calf is different than a torn calf. But as mentioned, they're going to do more.
Man,
what?
But I'm an older man. You
might
be an old man, but I'm a much older man.
I mean, we shouldn't be out there running with torn
good.
calves. That's for sure. And I always think I'm younger than I am, and I go running out there. I'm like, it's been a couple weeks. I haven't felt the tingle in a while. And he was wearing a sleeve over it, meaning that there was a tingling sensation potentially where he's like, kind of feels like something's there, guys. Let's put a sleeve on it. He goes out there and he strains it. So he's got to be very careful that there's not that sensation's gone. Even when he goes out there to throw passes around and he's not running yet, they got to be like very comfortable with, okay, are you feeling what you felt when we had to put the sleeve on? Because if you do, he's just going to tear it again. Or he's going to tear it. He's going to strain it again and maybe tear it. But
Terry's been in chat trying to get you to put your number up on the screen.
Oh, okay. Phone line number. Let's see if I can put that up. There we go. Phone lines are open. Dial into the show. There we go. Appreciate you,
Smitty,
Terry.
can I bring up a topic that relates to my dynasty question? Because I think it'll be a good topic for us to talk about.
Sure.
So the topic is cussing, specifically Walker with Charbonnet, right? I can hear myself from somebody.
Yeah, can someone mute? I don't know if that's Kyle or we got a lot of reverb there. Everybody mute. Okay. Everybody mute, but who's talking right now? Rob? Everybody mute, but Rob, real quick, if you could. Sometimes it's not your fault, guys. It's just the reverb. Go ahead, Kyle or Rob.
Okay, so the topic is cuffing, specifically Walker with Charbonnet.
A must.
And we're in the eighth round of a dynasty and trying to figure out when is a good time to do that and if it's worth it to pull the trigger. So I'm coming up in about 7 picks. We're looking at the pick 802. And players on the board are Williams, Detroit wide receiver Williams, Kincaid, Jordan Love, and Pacheco. It seems like a bit of a reach to take Charbonnet.
Williams, hold on. Williams, Jameson Williams, Kincaid, Pacheco, Charbonnet. Look, what pick is it? It's 802, but what is that's
And it's a dynasty format, so let's keep that in mind, Superflex. But I think we can relate this to a lot of different topics and how people deploy this strategy.
That's pick
way,
8.
Right?
Is that pick 86? That's pick 86, right? So, bro, that 802. That's not early. Like in redraft, he's going at like 95. He's going at like 95 to 102.
It's not. You're correct. But with those players on the board, I also have the 809. With those players on the board, are you saying it doesn't matter if those players on the board, looking at Williams, Kincaid, Love in the Superflex, in Pacheco, with the values that those players have?
I do like Love though.
Am I taking Charbonnet and doubling up on that backfield?
Probably
am I going to take one of those players and risk it a little bit?
Okay, so in Superflex, that definitely changes things a lot. But I would say because that's different. Superflex, he's not going that early. So that's I don't think you said that. Maybe you did and I missed it. But that is a whole different ballgame. Let me have you answer it for yourself. How many overall draft slots is Zach Charbonnet showing up as when you look at the pre-rank list? My guess is 15 spots or more.
Yep, he's down 16 spots. You're right. He's
okay.
RB5 though.
He's RB5. I think you could go Love, and then I would pull the trigger. I would get Love. Love is more impactful for you starting lineup wise. And if you can get Love as your second quarterback, that's phenomenal. I think Love's going to blow up. I think Love's going to be good. He's going to be better than anybody expects. And given that Charbonnet's 15 overall spots down, and you said the 802 and the 80 what? 809?
9. Yeah,
you should be okay. But you're going to be so pissed off if Charbonnet gets taken, though. I'm just telling you, you're going to be like, it can be hard to sleep at night. But I probably
that's the problem.
Well, that's why I take him in the.
I'm bringing up this dilemma.
That's why I take him in the 8th round, though. But in a super flex, 8th round is a little early. Yeah, I agree. But it's not too early to do it, though. It's just early from his ADP. But I would take a Love and Charbonnet and then smile and sit there in relief because that's pretty likely chance you're going to get both of them that way. You're not going to get both of them if you go the other way.
So let's remove Love from the equation. Do you still take Jameson Williams or Kincaid and go, all right, we have a tight end spot, and Jameson Williams could blow up for the future, or maybe we take Pacheco. Do you still wait for him for the 809?
I like Kincaid a lot. I like Jordan Love and Kincaid.
Sorry,
about
the mailbox is full, and there's.
I like Kincaid and Charbonnet about the same. But if you have Walker, right? You said?
Yes, correct.
Yeah, I want Charbonnet. I like Kincaid, but I want Charbonnet. I'd be tempted to get all three somehow through a trade because I hate for you to leave Kincaid out there. If you could get Love, Kincaid, and Charbonnet, it'd be worth giving up like a couple picks, downstream. I don't know. That is a tough call. I will admit that I don't know what to do when presented with Kincaid, Love, and Charbonnet because I want all three.
Okay.
That's a tough one.
Do you want to hear my roster? Will that help you make a decision?
I suppose, yeah.
Bijan, Kenneth Walker, London, Christian Watson, DeAndre Swift, George Pickens, Deshaun Watson.
So you got Pickens already. Pickens is who's your starting quarterback? Your first quarterback?
Deshaun Watson.
Deshaun Watson. Okay. So Deshaun Watson and Pickens. I mean, you got two QBs.
No. George Pickens. I'm sorry. Yeah, George Pickens.
Oh, Pickett. I think I meant Pickett. Sorry. So you need your second quarterback then. Okay.
Yep.
Who's your tight end? You said.
I don't have a tight end quite yet.
Do you think Charbonnet? When's your next pick? You got the 809, and when's your next pick? 9 what?
7 picks.
No, your next round. So you got the 802, you got the 809, and then.
Yep. The next pick after that would be. Give me just a second.
It sounds like it's a ways. I would trade your next two pick. I would trade your next 2 picks to get right next to that 9.9, so like the 9.10, and draft Kincaid, Love, and Charbonnet. I'd trade your next 2 picks to get that 1 pick.
I have the 911.
I would trade your 9 and your 10. Your 9 and your 10 for that pick and draft Kincaid. It'll be worth it.
I don't have a 10. I don't have a 10. Right. I already gave up my 10 to move up into. That's how I.
Well, you get the idea. I would do something along those lines.
Yeah, I got you. Okay, yeah, you're right.
All right, Kyle. Okay. What else you got, Kyle?
So that was it. I just thought it was a good
I'm sorry, Rob.
topic.
I'm sorry,
and it helps me out, with
Rob.
figuring out this 2 running backs for the same team strategy and how we cuss and when it's a good time to pull the trigger and when not, based on who's on the board. So, I appreciate the advice. And
Rob, what else? What else you got, Rob? Hold on, Kyle. Let me circle back around.
Only one question. I'm going to be off for a minute. When's the earliest you would take JT?
I'm not. Thank you, Kyle. Appreciate you, Kyle. The earliest I'm taking JT is. I don't want to say. I was going to say never, but it's not. It's not that I hate JT. I just vulturing. Quarterback coming in, it feels like what happened to Chubb when Deshaun Watson got under center is going to happen to JT. A lot of yards and limited touchdown opportunities. I don't like him anywhere at the top of 2 or middle of 2. Nowhere. I'm just not taking him.
Thanks, Mitty. I'm going to get off here, buddy. Just want to say thank you. Appreciate you, man. Have a good night.
Rob, later. Ron, do you feel the same way about JT? I mean, it's not that I hate him, but I can't take him at 2.1, 2.2, 2.3, 2.4, 2.5.
Isn't he dealing with an ankle injury, and that's what he dealt with last year? I'm kind of off of it. I think it's going to be Hall season, or it could be.
I know you like Hall, Bryce.
I do.
Yeah, I mean,
And the other thing, you see Israel, the Colts owner, shot back at Najee, sticking up for the running back, saying, "Oh, us owners aren't gonna entertain the idea of negotiating running back contracts and making them special. We spent years working on the collective bargaining agreement, and we're not going to destroy that years of work." That's what Israel said.
Yeah, I mean, again, I don't mean. I don't mean to I'm not taking the owner's side at all. The owners are callous about how they approach things, so I'm no way, shape, or form. I just think that I don't know. I don't think much can change. Not initially, not right away, not for a while. But I also don't know that I'll force a whole lot. I'd do some things like shorter rookie contracts. I think would be good for everybody. Past that, taking away the franchise tag for RBs. That's it. You can't pay an RB. You can't make people pay an RB, but I think the owners are callous about it. That's the problem. Matt Biaggi is on the line. Matt Biaggi, what did you call to complain about today? Last time you called, I feel like you were making me scream and yell at you or something, if I remember correctly.
No, I had to get somebody a cup of coffee, I think. But
yeah, all right. What am I going to yell at you about today?
I just wanted to check in on where you're at with Javonte Williams, and are we still out on him a little bit, or do you think maybe he could be coming along better?
I mean, we just talked about it. I mean, it was a breaking news piece of the show. So
I'm sorry, I joined late.
Yeah,
I've been
late,
on for the last hour.
You're late to the party. I mean, he was cleared for contact, so it's great. We got to kind of wait and see. I like him a lot. I think he could have a better potential season than Barkley had, in terms of recovery. Not necessarily, I don't know what he's going to do on the field, but I just think there's a higher likelihood that he doesn't have those nagging, compensation injuries. But you never know. ACL recovered players, if they're not ahead of schedule, they're definitely risk of compensation injuries. So I don't really feel that way about Breece Hall. To be honest, I feel very comfortable about Breece Hall, but he's running 23 miles per hour. We're seeing him go out there and function at an extremely high level. And Javonte, I just need to see it. Once I see it, I can give you a better answer. But for right now, I would say take advantage of his 7th round ADP, or I don't think I'd take him at the top of 6 or anything. If you can't get him in the 7th round, then maybe he's not somebody you draft.
I'm considered I have a keeper. Like I said, I have Josh Allen, Mark Andrews, and Jamar Chase. And then I either got to pick between Montgomery, Javonte, T. Higgins, Amari Cooper.
Oh, you got to take T. Higgins. You got to take T. Higgins, man.
Okay, so that's 4.
Yeah.
Then do I want to go into this draft with no RBs, pure RB, or
it is what it is. It is what it is. You can't force Monty in there or injure Javonte when you can draft him back. That's why I say you can't draft it. You can't draft a position. You can't keep a position over a player. Always draft a player. I mean, it sucks that you have to. But what if you go in there and you get? I mean, how hard is it going to be for you to get Bijan, Gibbs, Walker, Hall? Are all those guys kept? I know the rookies aren't yet.
Yeah, I won't get any of them. I'm like the 9th pick. Those guys will all be gone. Maybe Charbonnet. I might be able to snag him, but running back. You're gonna have to go 0 RB, bro, in this league. I mean, I can't. Okay. I don't know. I maybe trade. Like you said, we can see what happens with Javonte when we get closer to the season. If you see him running full go, maybe I keep him, over Amari.
Well, okay. I don't think you were really clear on how many you were keeping of that, or at least I didn't hear it. But Amari.
No, it's a five keeper.
Okay,
yeah.
So Amari Cooper over Javonte. I could see keeping Javonte over Amari. I know a lot of people love Amari Cooper.
Right. I might be able to trade Cooper too.
Yeah, I could see that, but at the same time, like Cooper's and I don't agree with it, but Cooper's going like in the 4th round sometimes. Like I feel like you could trade him. I would trade him.
He's just good if he's healthy. I mean, he really is.
I mean, I don't know. I definitely would rather.
He's a little older.
I definitely don't. I'm not saying I want Javonte over him necessarily because it's a keeper league. It's not a dynasty league. It's a keeper league, and there's a little different value. But
I mean, I can keep him forever. It's not like I pay any draft picks.
I know, but it does change the game a little. It's not like like Javonte had like Javonte over Amari Cooper in dynasty for sure, but in a keeper format, it's not the same because you're gonna have other options.
Because I've never gone 0 RB, and you're probably like me where it was always like we need good running backs always, and it's rough going into that, no running backs.
Mm-hmm. So. All right, Biaggia. We'll see you later, pal.
Cool. Thanks.
All right, later.
Bye.
All right, Ron. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you're saying Breece is running 23 miles an hour, but really the most important thing is cutting, right? Because you said it before, like with your knee injuries, you can run straight all day long, but it's the cutting that you have the problem with. So really, it's not the fact that he can run straight 23 miles an hour, which is great, but the cutting, right, is the most important part.
Yes, but the thing is, when you're not ready to cut, you can't run 23 miles per hour. So it's a very telling attribute of your recovery process. Like he's definitely ready to cut. He's been cutting. He's cutting probably very, very well. I mean, we've seen him. There's video of him cutting, but like hardcore, in a game, 100% cutting. He's not there yet, but it's not that he can't do it. It's that he's got a month, well over a month to get his mind completely right, because 80% of it is trust. It's just trust. And if you hold back while you're cutting and playing, you'll pull your hamstring. So ultimately, just so everyone knows, he's got no problem. Breece Hall is not at risk of getting injured by cutting in terms of like, oh, he's going to just tear his knee all of a sudden. It didn't heal right or something. That's not it. It's about he's got a month and a half or less than a month and a half or whatever to get to a point where he can cut without holding back and like picking his leg up and like putting all of his weight on his right leg while he's trying to cut onto his left leg to where he pulls a hamstring or has a compensation injury. So that's really what it comes down to. You cannot go out and run 23 miles per hour on a shaky knee. So that's a great news. And to be this far ahead, Barkley wasn't doing that. So Barkley had to try and learn that cutting and trusting his leg literally right before the season kicked off. Whereas Breece Hall is he's a month and a half ahead of where Barkley was. So he's literally like saying, I'm 100% right now. I don't really trust myself yet fully. and he's got to keep cutting. And I mean, he's doing this every day. It's not like I know a lot of people are envisioning him going out and like doing a couple things. He's literally, working at it every single day. So I'm sure he's already doing that. But he has almost a month and a half practically to go out and just learn to trust his knee again. That's all he's got to do, because it's the compensation injuries that are going to get him. But
thanks for clarifying.
Yeah,
I was just wondering.
Yeah, but bro, I'm telling you, for somebody that doesn't work out like he does, I was a layman doing rehab. 3 times. They cut me down to 3 times a week when I was getting close to healthy, and like I'm not rehabbing like him. But when I was rehabbing, I'm telling you, it felt like somebody sawed my knee in half, and then just set it right back on top, and then told me to go out and cut. Like you literally feel like your bottom part of your joint's just gonna fall off when you cut. It's just going to roll off. It's the weirdest feeling in the world. And you're numb. You sometimes don't get any of the feeling back in your knee, especially when they cut out that little window in your patellar tendon to use that for your ACL tear. Back in the day, like 10, 15 years ago, all players would get cadaver ACL reconstructions because it reportedly healed faster, but they kind of over time tested it, and the faster healing, better recovery is using your own tendon to create a ligament. They used to go and take dead people's ligaments, cadaver ligaments, and take someone's dead ACL and put it in your knee. And when they asked me which one I wanted, I'm like, hell no. It's a quicker recovery. I'm like, I don't want Bob's ACL. I could just picture this like, dark, just dried up ACL. You're going to drill that into my knee? I don't think so. So they cut out a window right here, and they take the tendon and they drill it in to each joint with the drill hole. They put it in, then they put screws in, and they just wedge it in. Kind of, you can think of it like, here's the hole. They put the ACL in, and then they put a bunch of screws in there, and then the bone grows into the screws, and it just makes it tight fitting. And you got to let it heal. You can't go out and run or cut, or it'll pull right out. So you got to let it heal. You got to let the bone grow into the screws, and everything just tightens up. And anyway, from the surgery here and everything, you're numb. Like you can't, like even to this day, if I tap on the front of my knee, I could feel it because of the pressure, but I can't. There's a certain part of my knee where I have no feeling on the skin. So ACL is crazy. It's crazy surgery. But they've come a long way, and the younger you are, the more likely you are to never ever have a problem. Like you think of guys like, Dalvin Cook, who tore his ACL, and Jamal Charles, and Adrian Peterson, and Priest Holmes. Priest Holmes tore his ACL and then became Priest Holmes. Like he tore his ACL really early. I believe his rookie year, if I remember correctly, on Priest Holmes, or coming into his rookie year or something. I kind of vaguely remembering where he tore it. But Priest Holmes became who Priest Holmes became after his torn ACL. So torn ACLs are not death sentences anymore. But the younger you are, the much, much easier it is to get back to not only 100%, but to become as great as you were going to become. So Breece Hall, there's no doubt in my mind he could become the number 1 running back in the National Football League. I know Bijan is my number 1, but Breece Hall could be the number 1 running back in the National Football League. Give him a year before he gets there, but give him a half a year before he starts showing it, and giving you the flashes of it. Javonte Williams, so easy to just write him off and say, I'll never do it now. But let's just let him have a year. He's one of the guys of the two, or of all the ACL tears, that I would say I'm hopeful, but I think we really need to think of him like Barkley. Just to be safe, we need to think like How do you feel about Barkley right now? Top 5 in terms of like being a talent? Like I'm zero concerned about Barkley's ACL. I feel like he's a top 5 running back. So I kind of feel like Javonte, we just need a year before we start feeling like, as long as his job is safe and everything. That's the problem with these, like especially an Achilles injury. Most of the time, I would say that a big reason why we never see a running back ever return to top 10 running back form is because the injury is so brutal and you don't get your burst back. But by the time you do get your burst back, and it takes about 2 to 3 years for an Achilles tear, like Akers, it takes 2 to 3 years to get your burst back. And by that time, your team has already moved on. Like you rarely ever see Akers' situation that he's got in front of him available. So Akers has got a unique situation. I just don't think he'll stay healthy. But
yeah.
All right, Ron. Good news about everything so far for Miss Navy. So we'll keep our thoughts and prayers in your direction. So guys, drop a couple prayer emojis and let us know if you need anything. I'll see you tonight for the drafting.
Appreciate it. Yeah, if I'm not sleeping, I'm pretty tired.
Yeah, take a night off.
A long day.
Take a night off.
So.
All right, Ron.
What are you gonna do? The weekly?
Is there anything new out today? I haven't even looked.
I haven't seen anything, but I don't know. But you haven't done any Garrett Wilsons lately either.
Yeah, I do need to drop one of those tonight. I'll do one of those tonight. But yeah, I thought about doing a Mastiff live. We'll see.
Mastiff?
We'll see. Yeah, that'd be fun.
The $1,000 one?
Yeah, it'd be fun. It'd be fun to live stream it. Don't tell anybody I'm doing it, and then just join the. I don't want Speedy in there. I could just see joining in, and Speedy showing up in the $1,000 Mastiff, and I just want to put my hand through my screen, and just be like, this guy's gonna literally ruin everything we're about to do. Speedy the Reacher. All right, we'll see you later. What? You what?
Said in the tell you got a $10 super chat you haven't hit yet.
Oh God, hold on. I swore I was going to be on top of that. I didn't see it. Let's see here. Breece says, Smitty, what is your top 5 defenses? Thank you. That's a great question. Thank you for the super chat. Top 5 defenses. My defensive rankings are going to be a little different than most people's. I'm going to say, let's see here. I just did it today. I'm going to say I think the Jets, the Niners, and the Cowboys and the Eagles are like the top 4. And I can understand somebody having a different order. And then once you get past that, it's like Pittsburgh and Buffalo, and then it's just kind of like a mixed bag. I mean, Miami just lost Ramsey, so they're no longer in the top 10 for me, or I don't know, we'll have to see. But I think Ron's Steelers are a great, team to grab that you're not going to have to spend top 5 defensive value for, and they can explode. I think the Jets are also outside the top 3 or 4 for most people. So the Jets and the Steelers probably have the most upside. And then the Niners are going to be good. I like the Niners D. They're probably going to be pretty good. You know who I like, I don't get excited to have to talk about players on the Niners that I like. Everyone always thinks I'm a Niner fan or something. But the one player I think is a very good value right now that no one's talking about and no one's going to is their kicker, Jake Moody. They spent a lot of draft capital on him. He's got a leg. He's going to be playing in an offense that's going to be moving the football down the field, assuming Purdy stays healthy. And if Purdy doesn't, I think the defense will still put the offense in good field position. They might kick even more then, who knows. But I think Jake Moody is probably the sleeper kicker of the year. So scoop him up.
I think the Patriots are going to have a sneaky tough defense this year.
I could.
And I love, as far as kickers go, I just can't get on. I just love Dicker the kicker. I mean, I love it. He doesn't even got to be good. He's pretty good, actually.
It's just you just want to be able to say it.
Yeah, Dicker the kicker.
All right, Ron Navy. We'll see you tonight.
All righty. Later, everybody. Later. Have a good one.
All right, guys. Appreciate you joining me for this little news edition. We got 195 of you still in here. Punch that thumb up button on your way out the door. Literally 195 of you in here and only 136 thumbs up, which is respectable. But let's punch that like button on your way out the door. I'll see you tonight. We're drafting live on Underdog Fantasy. Promo code Smitty. Underdog Fantasy promo code Smitty. Look at this. Look at this right here. Underdog Fantasy promo code Smitty. Join me tonight. I'm going to drop the link in the live chat right now. Here's the link to Underdog Fantasy promo code Smitty. And we got a super chat here from Cody real quick. Frank says, Super Chat, Smitty. I did do Super Chats. Does Frank have one out there? I got Overcome, I got Cam, I got Dez, I got Giancarlo, I got Harrison's, I got Hector's, I got Ron Navy's, I got Breeze, and then now Cody's. I'm caught up on them. Cody says, would you trade Ramondre and Olave for Gibbs and JSN? Yes. I'd rather have Gibbs and JSN. I love Olave, but Ramondre worries me long term. If this is redraft, I probably would say no. So redraft, I'd rather have Ramondre and Olave. In Dynasty, I'd probably rather have Gibbs and JSN, but very, very arguable. Redraft, I'm taking the Ramondre side with Olave. So hopefully that helps you. Appreciate you, Cody. Thank you for the super chat. Link has been dropped in the live chat. Let me pin the link right now. I want to see all you in the draft tonight. Every single one of you in the draft tonight. Underdog Fantasy promo code Smitty. I'm pinning that link right now. It is pinned. They'll match up to $100 on your first deposit on Underdog if you use code Smitty or use the link which inserts code Smitty. I will see you all tonight. Get lammed. Thank you, Cody. Thank you, Bree. Thank you, Ron Navy. Dropping all these super chats on screen here. Thank you, Hector. Thank you, Harrison. Thank you, Giancarlo. Thank you, Dez. Thank you, Cam. Thank you, Overcome. Overcome was the first super chatter of the day, and all first super chatters get a standing ovation. Overcome to the moon.
Let's go, mashed potatoes!
8 p.m. Do it live.
Hi, my name is B. John Robinson. I like long walks on the beach. And, well, I also like scoring touchdowns.